All right, today I'm going to talk about heaven and hell. I'll first start off by talking it as a place. Some may think, well, where do you die and where do you go? Um, in the Bible, it shows different places where you go, what places you have access to, and what places you don't have access to or you're limited to. In the New Testament, in the Lord's parable, it shows a type of a place of suffering in the earth. There's a paradise, which is when Christ died for 3 days, he came back, and then he resurrected to the heavens. So, but when he died for 3 days, he proclaimed the gospel, or let's say the God's work in a certain stage of completion. So, and you see this place as a parable that he depicts in the rich man and the poor man parable, and how the king. Okay, well, let's not go. So the place is there's a place of suffering, and there's a place of paradise. Um, Now, a lot of people mix up that, well, we go to heaven, it's paradise. Well, heaven and paradise aren't the same thing. So you have that holding place. There's two sides: the bosom of Abraham in paradise, and then you have a suffering of consequences in hell, trying to redeem yourself for past grievances. Then you have heaven, the notion of heaven, up, wherever up is. If you read the King James version of the New Testament, no, the Old Testament, it talks about not that there's multiple heavens. It's there's multiple when they're talking about the earth, the atmosphere. It says the heaven. Not that heaven is typically a place. There, heaven is a place too, in the sense where the throne of God is. Now, you see Jacob's ladder, where there's this uh, the angels going up and down through this let's say uh, Jacob's ladder, or a gate, maybe not a gate, but some kind of warping device. Think of it that way. I don't know, but we don't know. Other than we see that the angels had access to this. You see this with the devil having access to this. When he goes to heaven, discusses things with God in the book of Job. But you see in the New Testament where he is tempting the Lord Jesus, saying, "Look at all my kingdoms on the earth. If you bow down and worship me, I'll make you Lord of them all." So there's the aspect of access. Now, of course, later in Revelation, Satan will no longer have access to heaven, but that's for another time. So there's heaven as a place, a ruling place. Then there's a paradise in the earth and a torment in the earth. But then there's another thing where the Lord speaks in the New Testament and in the Old Testament, a king. I forgot which one. Um, I forgot what prophet tells a king this, where there's many rooms in God in God's house. So that's up in heaven. So when you think of death, let's say I sometimes run into people that think, "Oh, well, I don't believe in heaven and hell," but they believe in the afterlife. Well, you need to think about it in this aspect. Do you believe in cities? Um, let's say I live in Washington, so there's a city next to me called Seattle. Now, I know Seattle's there, um, but let's say I've never been to Seattle. I have, but let's just say for just for this exercise, let's say I haven't been to this place. There's many cities that I haven't been to. But what makes up a city? Is it buildings? Ultimately, it's not just the buildings. It's not just the foundation. It's the people that make it. It's the notion of a kingdom. What is a kingdom? A kingdom is a people, a group of people. I know this. It's only one aspect of the kingdom. It's only one aspect of this of a city, but it's the core aspect of these things. That's what I'm saying. So when if say you don't believe in heaven and hell, but you believe in an afterlife, there's going to be a conglomerate of, let's say, whatever we become, ghosts, spiritual beings, whatever you believe. Now, um, there'll still be a conglomerate of places, and a conglomerate of those souls will have a ruling structure. Would it be so far-fetched to consider such a ruling place as of heaven? I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. It makes you think a little bit. So take that notion into your mind just a little bit. Now, who has access to heaven, uh, the many rooms of God, paradise, and hell? Well, of course, hell is a place. Um, now, there's different kinds of hells too. There's the pit. There's the lake of fire, and there is, let's say, a place of trying to redeem. There's things that we see in the Bible, snippets of what we know. At least this is what I know. Um, I'm not saying that there's multiple heavens. I'm just saying, okay. Okay, so who has access? Typically, to my understanding, uh, reading the Bible is when you die, you go to paradise, or you go to a place that you need to pay the cost of the choices you made in your previous life, which is the life that we're living now. And so there's that. But not now. Some that overcome, have a relationship with God. Let's say a prophet, right? A prophet that let's take look at Jacob's ladder. Okay, there was the first king of the Jews, which was it Saul? Sorry if I mess it up. I think it's Saul. Some people say no, that wasn't the first king. It was David. There was a king before David, and he failed in the eyes of God, and he there was a lot going on, but pretty much he fell so far. He went to a person that is a mediator. A mediator. Pretty much, she could speak to the dead, or speak to the afterlife, and even summon a bring. Now, I won't go too much in detail of that, but what's so seen in the Bible is she sees the prophet. Um, she was drawing a prophet from Jacob's ladder. So you see that the prophet had access to at least heaven and the rooms, the many rooms of God's house. Now, so there is an overcoming, but then there's those that, let's say, don't progress in God's life, aren't with God, don't have a relationship with God. They're still trying to, well, let's say there's a cost. There's a cost to everything, and that's the whole notion of, actually, let's see, the easy way of putting it that a lot of Christians put it is heaven and hell. Now, I gave you those places to think about. Now let's look at the notion of heaven and hell, right? Heaven, typically you think of, oh, well, it's a place of reward, or a place of a place of peace for you. Let's put it that way. But really, it's a holding place for now, for other things to come. God is doing things, uh, um, but the crucial part that we should be most concerned with in our life today, if we believe in heaven and hell, is the place of the transgressions that need to be paid back. Now, this is kind of the same idea when I talk about in the index of righteousness, how there's a scale of things. Okay, so I'm going to talk about heaven and hell now in the mind's eye, not only as places, so we're past that, but as an idea. Now, there's three things you can do. You can believe in heaven and hell, you can not believe in heaven and hell, or you can be neutral. You're just undecided, right? Now, and I want you to think about What kind of society do you want? Consider these things. Do you want a society that doesn't believe in heaven and hell? Do you want a society that does believe in heaven and hell? Or do you want a society that is just neutral? Now, why is this important? Let's say, I'm going to start with heaven and hell. Believing in heaven and hell, you, the, if you believe in heaven and hell, you know that there is consequences for your actions today. So you are governed today for tomorrow. So saying that your choices matter. Your choices matter more to you if you believe in heaven and hell because you believe it amounts to something. Maybe it be a place that allows you to not suffer and comfort. You know, so there's people that live in a terrible situation, um, and their life may feel like hell itself. But what if they believed in heaven and hell, and they took on this duty to fulfill the transgressions, to not pass transgressions onto others, even if transgressions were passed on themselves. Okay, what do I mean by transgressions? This might be a new word for you guys. Let's say someone hits you, right? Right? Oh man, it is a violation. So someone violates you. Let's put violation. You're probably familiar with that. Someone violates you. Does that give you, you can justify it in your mind, say, oh, well, if I'm violated, therefore that gives me the right to violate someone else. You know, people tend to uh, think this way in a more animalistic type decision making. I don't believe like that. I believe that if someone does something bad to me, I need to be an example and not do the bad to them. Or if I can't take it, if I do feel like I need to teach them a lesson, I will dish out the same amount of punishment that they have dealt unto me. Now there are other situations, uh, um, like murder, for example. Now that was between like one person versus another person, right? Well, what if someone murders another person? Well, the other person's already dead, so he can't have recompense. Okay, maybe I'm going off topic. I'll try to finish this. But the point here is, so the society will have to judge him. Uh, um, Man, I can go down this rabbit hole a little bit too much. Why did I put murder? Okay, so like, so his life would be forfeit. He kills someone, well, you deserve to die. But now, of course, there's self-defense murder, which isn't murder; it's self-defense. You know, there's accidental murder. There are all these other categories that I can go into more detail on. It's not always cut and dry like life for life. So, but leave that as it is. Okay, so the notion of heaven and hell. If you believe in heaven and hell, say you want a society that believes in heaven and hell, you have a society that is more conscious of their choices today for tomorrow or in their next life, put it that way. When I say tomorrow, I just mean later on. Uh, and in their enactment, in their enacting making decisions to be crucial, even the small things, to be crucial, makes a society much more peaceful, much more, I would say, even loving and caring and growing. Now, let's go to the other notion of those that don't believe. Now, what is the benefit of not believing in heaven and hell? The benefit of not believing in heaven and hell is not being weighed down, uh, that your decisions have any weight to them. So you can do wrong to someone and you believe you're not going to pay for it later. This is where a lot of people, like, instead of believing in heaven and hell, they believe, oh, I believe in karma. Yeah, okay. Well, that's another discussion. But the point here is, if you don't believe that if your actions don't consequent uh, don't have consequences to them, maybe not in this lifetime, maybe you might get away with it, then what holds you back? Nothing holds you back. Think of a society like that. Think of a society that does not self individually hold themselves back because they don't believe that there is a consequence. Let's say you believe in karma. I guess there is some kind of restriction, restricting oneself. It's too hard to believe in God, but yeah, but karma, that one baffles me. I whatever. I'm welcome. I'm more than welcome to talk to anyone on that one, but I believe in a system that governs us in a certain way, but I don't believe in God. Who could create such a system, if a system even exists? Oh, okay. So, believing in heaven, hell, checks and balances are much more taken into consideration. Not believing in heaven and hell, what would you say? It's a jungle out there. The strongest survive. Whatever you can get away with, type of mentality. Uh, some people may think that's freedom. Uh, the not believing in consequences, ignoring consequences, blinding themselves, saying, there's these three wise monkeys. What is it? Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. Yeah, you're just dumb, deaf, and blind to reality until reality hits you in your face. And instead of you just saying, "Oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?" You're actually like, "That's what's wrong with me. I need to deal with that." A lot of times, a lot of people take, pill pop pills, pop drugs, medication. Well, no matter what it is, there is all kinds of intoxications that are mind altering that help you deal with life. And I agree, there are uses for them. But I would say nowadays it's used to more cope with reality for a lot of people out there because they don't know why they feel like this, these things happening to them, or why do they have this weight, or this, let's say, um, they feel like the world's against them. Oh man, what can I say? Let's say depression. Let's say depression. There are people out there that really have genuine depression problems. I get that, but I think uh, everything has to. You need to make sure of your mindset, of your stability. Where's your stability? If you don't have stability and you're just living life day to day just by doing what you enjoy, now, there's a lot of things we can do what we enjoy and we can get away with it, especially if we don't believe in heaven. But those consequences, see, maybe this is why the notion of karma, people can easily believe in karma because they know and they feel that their actions have consequences and they're trying to cope with it, but they don't know how to deal with it. Um, and to me, that's so one. So the point here is, you might think it's freedom to be who you want to be and act how you want to be. That's not freedom. Freedom is in making a firm decision and thinking things out where you believe it. Where is your constitution at? You know, what can you need to rationalize things out. And the thing is, this is a big battle. This is part of the reason why I talk to you guys about the Bible and what it gives an answer. Weird enough, that answer is God. But I'll try to show you this as much as possible. So yeah, so you have those categories: the category of those that believe, and the category that those that don't believe. Now there is a third category. You might be like, well, I'm neutral. I'm neutral. I'm like, I'm still undecided. The thing is, the problem about neutrality, it's fine for a time. It's fine for a time. But a time in one's life, you need to grow up. You need to make a stand in what you believe in, whatever it is. If you want to enact change, you need to make sure what you stand upon is justified and you can justify it to others. And sometimes just justifying alone, you can justify things left and right, but that doesn't mean it's justice. I know that's kind of a play on words, but you can rationalize things out. Oh, a harm was done unto me, therefore that gives me the right to do a harm to another. That baffles me. Why? Well, it doesn't baffle me actually, because I know where the root of that reason. It's that happens because you don't reason things out. You know, there's a verse I've talked many times about, and it's uh, um, the first death in the Bible, and this was before Cain killed Abel. Jehovah, God, came to Cain and said, why are you upset? What's going on? Oh, well, he didn't say what's going on, but why are you upset? You know, you need to rule your anger, or it will rule you. So, what happened? The anger ruled Cain, and Cain killed his brother. There was not enough restraint, enough control of his anger. Now, we may have this anger. I'm not saying anger is bad. I'm not like some weird Christian that says, oh, only love, anger is bad. Okay, but the thing is, these emotions need to be governed. Sometimes they need to be released, for sure. That's why we have them. There's righteous anger. Sometimes we need anger just to deal out righteousness, to act. It baffles me that a lot of people think, I run into some people that think so kindly of themselves, and they don't they don't know anger, they don't know evil within them. They're that blind, veiled, that they don't know what they're to restrain. But okay, maybe I'm going off a little bit. But the point here is, so enslavement to that anger. That's what Cain was. Now, you may think that, oh, well, Cain's line ruled the earth to the extent that God had to flood the earth and start over again. Now, there was much more reasons because of the flood, but so you may think something might be a blessing because you get something out of it. But it's actually, you're enslaved to it, and it might be beneficial for you. A lot of times it is. Lying to someone, lying to the right person. I'm not saying lying is all wrong. I mean, I think sometimes you need to lie, especially if someone is trying to just search out a reason to act unjustly towards you. And we're all going through a process of maturity. So eventually you won't need to lie. I'm not actually endorsing lying. I'm actually saying try not to lie. Try not to lie, but more so be a person that doesn't need to lie. And the only way I know how to do that is by God, with God. And with you and God governing your emotion. You being the master of your emotion. That's freedom. So you see that Cain, he was enslaved by his anger. I'm talking about the opposite end now. The flip side. Master your anger. That doesn't mean your anger is going to go away. That's another thing I see some people preaching. It's like your anger is going to go away. No. Uh, you will gain more peace in life when you're walking with God. Here's another notion. Okay, well, no, I won't go too far off. This is getting kind of long already. So there we have it. True freedom is under showing where you stand, where you control of yourself, and what you push towards others. You know, we all push upon each other. You might think, oh well, you're just saying your belief. You're enacting your belief. Everyone is a conglomerate of what they believe and they act and do. Some people just are more aware of it than others. Actually, very few people are more aware of it than others. And they argue the surface of things. but their actions speak volumes to these others. Okay, then there's okay. So you got people that believe in heaven and hell, people that don't believe in heaven and hell, people that are undecided. Well, the people that are undecided, eventually, you'll have to come to this decision. And if you don't come to it, there is there's always a price. Um, in all things that we do, it's not just a warning I'm giving you. I'm not saying you're going to hell or something. I'm not preaching that. I'm just saying that there is consequences in where you uh, um, how you want to enact in life, if you believe it or not. Um, so yeah, I guess there you have it. So heaven and hell. What kind of society do you want? Do you want a society that believes in heaven and hell? Do you want a society that doesn't believe in heaven and hell? Or do you want a society that's just still undecided? To me, undecided is immaturity. To me, I mean, you can argue the point. I'm welcome to hearing you out. Unbelief, they're unrestrained. They think it's freedom. I say it's enslavement. They're feeding their own beast within themselves that they can't control. Do you want a society that believes in heaven and hell? I don't know about you guys, but I sure do. I know this is a different view of heaven and hell. Mindset. It's not always about a place that you go to or you're rewarded or you pay consequences. It's about today. What kind of society do you want? A society that takes into more consideration of their neighbors in loving their neighbors than to using their neighbors for their own gain, feeding that beast that is never fully satisfied, but just grows and is in control of them eventually. They just don't realize it. But when they do realize it, it's just like they're like, oh, I got anger problems. I got this problem. This is a disease. That is a disease. Oh man, everything's a disease nowadays, it seems like. All right. Well, I hope you liked this video. Sorry it's a little long. Took me a while to get this one kind of wrapped around my brain how I wanted to share it, because there's different aspects. You know, heaven is a place, or a hell and whatnot. We like, as Christians, it's easier to just say heaven and hell, but really there's all these different access and places and growth in life to have access. It's interesting. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.